Good evening, and thank you for joining us tonight for our Village of Alsip Committee meeting. Today is March 11, 2024, and we'll call this meeting to order at 7:31 p.m. Can you call the roll, please?
Trustee Dalzell?
Here.
Trustee Juarez-Mendoza is absent. Trustee McLaughlin? Here. Trustee Murphy?
Here.
Trustee Navas-Esparza is absent. Trustee Paretta?
Here.
Mayor Ryan?
Here.
We have a quorum.
Thank you. Please join us for the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, we'll start with our officers' reports, starting with mine. Today I participated in a legislative update meeting with the Southborough mayors and managers. Just give you 3 examples of some of the bills that the Southborough mayors and managers are looking at right now down in Springfield. The first, SSMMA, they support House Bill 2216. This provides that municipalities and fire protection districts may charge and collect reasonable fees from independent living facilities, assisted living facilities, nursing homes, and similar for lift assist services. I know we already have an ordinance like that in our community, but this also provides that the fees may not exceed the actual personnel and equipment costs for the services rendered by the municipality in connection with the lift assist. Provides that the municipality may require the facility to enter into a written agreement to reimburse the municipality for the cost of injuries suffered at the facility by municipal personnel when providing lift assist services, including but not limited to the cost of medical treatment, payments required under PSEBA, disability payments, pension payments for the injured personnel, but provides that any such agreement does not relieve the municipality of its statutory or contractual obligation it may have to its employees for an injury suffered related to the lift assist services rendering. You heard about this too, Chief?
Yeah, so what's happening is healthcare facilities, since COVID, just like everybody else, don't have enough people working. So when somebody falls down, instead of using their staff to help lift them back up, they end up calling the fire departments. Again, it's mainly because of staff shortages, but the thing and kind of what we looked at with our fees also is if somebody gets hurt out there, that person might be off for the rest of their life. They might be on disability. And the village, like we do, has to foot that bill for that. So they're trying to incorporate some of the costs on the event that somebody does get injured. It falls back at the liability of the facility or the owner of the facility to make up that difference, so the municipality or the fire district's not out that money for an event of catastrophic injury for that firefighter or paramedic.
Okay.
And it's been a huge problem, especially towns that have different healthcare facilities, nursing homes. I mean, you know, between our 2 neighbors, Palos Heights and Crestwood, there's 8 different facilities between those 2 towns. And they're going all the time for that. Now you're taking away services of a true emergency from another resident for a lift assist.
Understood. Next was Southborough Mayors and Managers Association is opposed to House Bill 4971. They're citing due to the potential expense, and this is actually a Chicago ordinance that they're trying to push into the downstate areas now too, that says that provides that any owner or tenant of real property within 1,200 feet in any direction of a dangerous or unsafe building located within the, let's say, the municipality, may file with the appropriate municipal authority and request that the municipality apply to the circuit court of the county which the building is located for an order permitting demolition, removal of garbage, debris, and other noxious or unhealthy substances and materials from or repair or enclosure of the building under specified provisions of the code. Again, this is a Chicago ordinance right now, but Southborough mayors and managers feel that this may impose more costs on suburbs to do the same for buildings rendered that are deemed unsafe, that we're going to be spending taxpayers' money then to be taking these buildings down because of which. And the last one was Southborough mayors and managers are opposed to House Bill, Senate Bill 3680 as it relates to crime-free housing. This, what they want to do is they want to repeal the provisions prohibiting ordinances penalizing tenants who contact the police or other emergency services. This adds provisions prohibiting a municipality from enacting a program, ordinance, resolution, or other regulation that, number one, penalizes landlords or tenants, guests, and others for contact with law enforcement agency. Number two is requires or encourages landlords to evict or penalize tenants or household members for conduct with law enforcement agencies, a criminal conviction or alleged unlawful conduct, including through cooperating agreements with law enforcement agencies. The third required or promotes the use of criminal background checks of progressive and current tenants. Fourth was defines nuisance behavior to include contact with law enforcement agency. Fifth requires tenants to secure certificates of occupancy as a condition of leasing, rental housing, or turning on utilities. And the last was to create or promote the use of registry of individual tenants for the purpose of discouraging landlords from renting to those tenants or otherwise excluding such individuals from rental housing within the subject jurisdiction. In summary, it's to provide it provides a program, ordinance, resolution, or other regulation that violates the provisions is void and must be repealed no later than 1 year after the effective date of the amendatory act. This allows for legal action to enforce the provisions, limits the concurrent exercise of home rule powers, and amends the Housing Authorities Act to make singular changes for housing authorities effective immediately. What they were encouraging Chief Miller, though, too, was they were saying that they felt it would be helpful for argument purposes that if we ever took one of our crime-free housing ordinances to compare it to this to find out if there's any common ground we can find in these. I like your crime-free ordinance right now, but are you getting much, info on this kind of thing right now then, too?
Yes, I'm aware of it. There's a meeting on it tomorrow, but essentially they're just trying to get rid of it.
Exactly. They're trying to get rid of crime-free housing. I think it's a good rule myself, but again, this is just the position Southborough mayors and managers are taking. They oppose that as well. They agree with you, Chief. So, the second was I didn't make it to the agenda, but I'm going to make a request to attend the annual lobby day that I do every year in Springfield. That's going to be this year, April 16th and 17th. And I'll get that on the next agenda. That's all I have for tonight's report. Any questions or anything on any of that? Okay. Clerk's report, Clerk Hardy.
Thank you, Mayor. The presentation of the February 2024 FOIA report, presentation of the March 4th, 2024 board meeting minutes, presentation of the March 4th, 2024 Committee of the Whole meeting minutes, and presentation of the February 2024 IDOT motor fuel tax allotment in the amount of $67,790.70. And that is all I had, Mayor.
Okay, thank you. We didn't need an attorney tonight, and we don't have an engineer. Mike, anything from the engineer that we had to say? He didn't say, typically Jeff will send me something. He didn't have anything to report tonight. Okay. Public forum. We didn't have anybody in our public this evening. So we'll move on to standing committee reports. We'll start with Finance and IT. Trustee McLaughlin.
Thank you, Mayor. I will have the usual list of payroll and accounts payable for approval next week, and that's currently all I have under Finance.
Okay, thank you. 1 second. Okay, and then thank you. Next, we have the Fire Committee report. Trustee Murphy.
Thank you, Mayor. I have a discussion on amending Chapter 9, Article 3, Section 9 through 36, Fire Prevention, discussion on changing the International Fire Code, NFPA 1001, and NFPA 24 to the 2021 standard. Chief?
All right. We've been talking about changing our codes, bringing them up closer to our current date right now. Right now, some of our codes are from 2006, some of them are for 2015. There's a lot of changes in technology coming in with the advent of electrical storage systems, with vehicle chargers, so on and so forth. We need to get closer to a current year for the standard, so that's why we look for the 2021 standard. So we had a meeting last week. I was in attendance. Roger Early was in attendance. My two fire prevention officers, Joe Schmidt, Tom Leah, and we had several representatives from the International Codes Council to look at updating our codes to the 2021, so they're pretty much up to date with what's going on in the real world. If you remember, a couple years ago, we updated our storage of lithium batteries to what the proposed 2024 was, because again, we've seen what's going on in the world. It's just going to keep going on. There's new technology for construction. There's new technology, like I said, for energy storage systems. There's just so much stuff coming down the road that we need to get ahead of it and not behind it. Instead of trying to catch up to the codes, we need to be ahead of it, and there's always new things happening in this village. It's time to bring the codes up to date. So the international fight, and I know, Roger, I don't know if you're talking about it today, Roger, or another day. I know Roger's looking at bringing up the building codes up to 2021 also for the same reason. So the International Fire Code is the one. NFPA 1001, that's a life safety code. That's currently what we use for our annual inspections now. Again, we want to keep up to date to that. And NFPA 24, that is for private water supply systems. We have a lot of building complexes in our town that were built in the late 60s, early 70s that has their own water supply system in it. Part of it is, some of them are hooked up to their own fire pump. Some of them run off of our main, even though they're responsible for it. When these complexes were built, the hydrants that they used had 2.5-inch ports. At the time, the largest diameter hose that we had was 3-inch. Since then, the late 70s, we used large diameter hose, which in our case is 5-inch. Other departments use 4-inch. These hydrants do not sustain the amount of water supply we need to supply that kind of water supply. We've had some of the complexes had quite a few failures where they're doing a lot of repairs. So again, we want to bring the codes up to date, so when they do have to replace a hydrant, they replace with the same type of hydrant that we use in our municipal water supply that has 2.5s, and then one steamer port, which will supply our 5-inch hose as well. Our biggest success story right now with that is Menasha. The owners of 11601, 11701, and 11801 Central 2 years ago spent about $2 million because they had so many water main breaks because they had a loop system around the building. So what they did is they actually installed a water main that's close to the ceiling around the perimeter of the building. We work with them. I don't know how many meetings we had. We spent a lot of time with them. Yeah, a lot of time. But we had a very good relationship with them. We have 4 freestanding hydrants that are along Central Avenue. And then along the north end of the building and the east end of the building, we have wall hydrants that come directly off the water supply that we can tap into as well. So we try to work with our businesses. It's a huge expense when they got to start replacing water mains. Again, just like our water mains, they don't plan ahead of it. They have breaks, and they just keep, dishing out money here and there. So anyway, going forward, anytime they do have to replace any water main, we want to bring it up to date and also have our hydrants, or have the hydrants replaced to what our current needs are. We have roughly, I'm going to just go off the top of my cuff, about 12 different complexes that meet that right now. Like I said, Menasha is the only one that's fully upgraded. We're working with Grief Brothers right now to do the same thing. Grief is unique. Grief actually works off of our water supply system, and they have a one-way check valve so it doesn't back up into our system. So they run off of municipal water supply. Everybody else, like I said, pretty much works off their pump system as well. Mini mill is a combination. We have a couple hydrants that work off of our water supply in their complex, and the rest of them work off their water supply. So again, just bring everything up to date. So if they do have to replace stuff, at least it's with the latest standard. Instead of going backwards, we want to be forward. We want to be proactive with that, if that makes sense. And I did give you a copy of what's currently in the International Fire Code 2021. That was in the handouts. Any questions at all?
Do the changes that you speak about impact more so the village or the business?
The businesses themselves, especially ones that are bringing in newer technology, newer construction. We have 2 new buildings that are pretty well built right now. We have a few more that are coming in. But just commodities moving in and out of these warehouses, we want to be ahead of it instead of behind. I know a few municipal departments and a few districts that they didn't realize the amount of lithium storage batteries that they have in their facilities. And we've seen that. We've had a lot of our businesses, when new businesses come in, these guys do a great job going in. They've had to upgrade their sprinkler systems because they're bringing in a higher flammable product that's in there, so they need a higher capacity. So we just want to keep up with the technology of things that are coming in.
Thank you.
Any other questions?
Next is the discussion on amending Chapter 9, Article 3, Section 9 through 4, fire alarm systems.
Right. Back in 2017, this pertains to the Caltron, we added the language in our ordinance, if any subscriber is 2 consecutive payments behind, that we will issue a municipal violation. 2019, we made a change, and at the request of the board, and I don't remember the whole specifics of the conversation, it was removed. However, working with our current hearing judge, she suggested that we put it back in so we have some teeth to go after these folks. So it's at her request that we put it back in. It's worked out pretty good so far. We don't, like I talked about before, we don't have a lot of deadbeats anymore within our system. But once in a while we get a couple behind, we bring them in municipal court, and it's usually taken care of, and that's the end of that. So at their request, they suggest that we bring it back in so we can go back to ticketing again for that.
Chief, just to refresh everybody, what is the monthly charge for the Caltron?
$65 a month, and then we have 61 subscribers that pay for the whole year at one time, and they get a 10% discount for doing that.
So a Class A misdemeanor, I just looked it up here, is starts at $300 up to $5,000.
Yeah, and she usually starts at $100 and goes from there depending on.
From $300 to
Yeah.
$5,000. How many potential violations do you have right now for this particular instance?
We don't have that. If we get maybe 3 or 4 a year, that's probably a lot. Our biggest challenge is the larger corporations, because the bills go to them, and it seems like every 3 months they have new people in there, so we're just chasing some of the money. I can think of 3 of them off the top of my head. I really don't want to name them on
Right.
TV here, but we don't have that often. It's every once in a while we'll catch 1 or 2, and it's our way of going after them, and once we bring them to court, they're good after that. And they always have an option of opting out and going to somebody else.
Right.
We don't have that happen a whole lot. So.
I don't recall the meeting either that we rescinded that.
I do.
Yeah.
Yeah?
Yes.
Go ahead, trustee. I don't forget the reason why.
Makes no sense to me whatsoever that we would sit there and somebody who either forgot or somebody who just is unable to pay, that we're going to write and set them for a municipal hearing with a possible additional fine other than the dollar amount that they already owe us, when we already have mechanisms in place. Mechanisms that we have in place are collections, shut off their service. The very same thing that we do with our water. Do we write MV tickets to people who are remiss in their water bills? No. Should we? Absolutely not. And if you're talking 3 or 4 accounts that are larger corporations that had a change in personnel.
And those aren't the ones we're looking at going after. We're looking to smaller ones.
Okay, but it just for 3 or 4 in a year?
Yeah.
Really?
That's at the request of the hearing officer for us to put it back in. So.
And it's my understanding that a lot of the citations that are presently being issued through the fire department, the citations are late in being turned in, and they missed the initial court date that they were set for. All we're going to do is add another layer to this thing of bureaucracy. We're not solving a thing.
We just look for compliance. That's all we look for.
Absolutely, I'm all for it.
Yep. Like I said, I was at the request of the hearing officer that we put that back in.
Yeah.
Doesn't matter to me one way or the other. It's totally up to the board what you want to do. I told him I'd bring it up and go from there.
This doesn't seem to make a lot of sense.
Okay, just for the record, the rest of that was the discussion on adding back in language any subscriber to the Keltron system who fails two concurrent billing cycles behind in payment shall be guilty of a Class A municipal violation. This was added in 2017 but removed in 2019 at the board's direction. Next we have Chief Szynski will discuss the request to hire a part-time training officer for the upcoming fiscal year to manage the fire department's training program.
So again, just to get some discussions going, one of my lieutenants who's retiring in June, he handles a lot of the scheduling now. We don't have a true training officer. We haven't probably since I got promoted to chief. We've had people fill in and do different things. We had a training support team which made up about 5 different people. It worked in the beginning, and like everything else, people don't do as much as they want to do before. They had time before on shift because of the calls, or our call volume went up. You know, the handouts that I sent out, I did send out of what we are required to do training on a yearly basis from the different organizations as well. I also hand out a list of our state certifications that we have. So we need somebody to manage that program itself to keep everything up to date, the new technology that's out there, the new techniques that are out there, new equipment that's out there. It's next to impossible to try to do that on shift. I try to do a lot of it with the guys on shift. We were doing training on foam over the last couple days. I was on Friday with Friday I was on with the shift. We tried doing it at 10 o'clock. They had back-to-back calls. Got postponed until after lunchtime, started at 1:30. We got about 5 minutes into it, got another call. So trying to get everything done all the time is not the easiest thing to be able to do and manage a program with that. To go along with that, somebody that manages the program also has to be certified as a training program manager, so they know what the requirements are, they know how to manage a program, and keep up with everything as well. Our world is changing through the State Fire Marshal's Office. There's a lot more continuing ed that we've never had before. Our special teams have had it for a while, including technical rescue. He has his materials, fire investigator. We're now seeing it with our fire officers. When they go through training, they have about a 20, 30-page booklet they have to follow, and then they also have X amount of hours they got to do over several years as well. So we need somebody to put everything together and manage it right now, and we don't have that person to be able to do that. A lot of departments have switched to either a part-time training officer, or they promoted another officer on days, whether it's a deputy chief, whatever you want to call it, rank or whatever. And I know the mayor and I had this discussion as well. It's a lot of money to put out because, again, you're putting a senior person in that position. That's well over $100,000, and a lot of the line personnel don't want to do that because they're losing out on overtime as well. So a lot of departments have switched to a part-time training officer, either somebody that's retired or somebody that has a lot of time to be able to do with it as well. So again, it's discussion just later on. I'll hand out what we have as far as this is a little bit outdated, but it shows you the people that we have and what their level of certifications are right now. I thought you grabbed a newer one, but I didn't. I grabbed an old one. But
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Just like I mentioned before, with the codes updated as well as every time you turn around, there's something new coming in the fire service. So we've been dealing with photovoltaic systems over the last couple of years. We're seeing a lot more with energy storage systems. We've seen a lot more with lithium batteries. Our world's always changing, and just like everything else, we got to keep up with it. We got to keep ahead of it. If you watch the news over the last probably 3 weeks, 2 large incidents that occurred at the fire service. One, it was in Los Angeles, California. They responded to a truck fire as they were arriving on the scene. You seen the truck erupt. That truck had compressed natural gas as a fuel. Again, if you don't recognize it, you don't know what you're getting yourself into. 9 firefighters were injured, 1 seriously. Either the day before or the day after, they had another large-scale incident in the East Coast. They responded to a fire in a house. As they were approaching, the house exploded. The house had a 500-gallon tank of propane that was in the basement that was used for same thing we use natural gas for. So again, there's a lot of thing that goes on with technology in the fire service we need to keep up to date on as well, and keep accurate records for all of our training as well. So that's why I want to have the discussion is, what direction do we want to go into? And right now I'm recommending the part-time training officer. I can't see, well, I shouldn't say, there's definitely need that they have another officer in rank in between us and the line officers, but it's a different discussion. It's a whole budgetary item, if you will. So that's why I started out with the part-time training officer, at least, with like I said, what I handed out, the amount of hours. In 2022, our fire department had a total of 9,716 hours. Every firefighter had an average of 285 hours of training for that year. 2023, we went up to 9914 for an average of 300 hours of training. That includes all of the line personnel, firefighters and officers, as well as our 2 chief officers as well. And we've seen the demand of what's happened with the police department over the last couple of years with training as well. So.
And how much do you envision would be the salary for this person?
Probably what we pay our fire prevention officers, our 2 fire they're at $33 an hour right now. I'd say 35 would probably be right in the ballpark right now. I haven't polled other departments to see what they're doing right now.
How many hours a week?
20 at the max.
And
it's about $31,000 a year, which would be some of it can be offset from 7G that we do, because a lot of times we use people come back and they get 7G rating as well.
And how much of a employment pool is there available with people who have these certifications and are available?
There's a lot of retired guys that are looking for something to do without working full time that are good at managing programs. I know a couple of departments that have hired a couple retired training officers, and they've done very well.
Chief, who does the training now?
It's a combination of people. So one of my lieutenants does the scheduling itself for the shift training. And then what they'll do is they'll reach out to, depending on what the training is, if there's a firefighter or an officer that has specialty. Like this week I'm doing foam. My background is in training, as well as hazardous materials, so I'm doing foam with them right now, and I have a few other ones that I do with it as well. It just depends on what the topic is for that week.
So how many do it?
We probably have about 10 or 12 people that will do training. Sometimes it's on shift. Sometimes we bring somebody back for 3 days in a row just for consistency. It depends on what the training event is.
So, Chief, right now, like as the trustee just said, I was just looking at, I know who you're, well, like you said, you got several people, but quite a few of your lieutenants have similar, you say like similar qualifications. So right now you've got somebody that's going to be retiring. You've got 5 more lieutenants, but none of them want to take on this task? No.
'Cause they do other things that kind of prohibit them from doing it for 20 hours a week. And then also trying to set up for training events with props and stuff like that. That's why we're having people do it on shift, but again, you could have a really good plan, throw a couple calls into that, and it goes down the drain. So we need to have somebody that has the time available that's not distracted by something else. That makes sense.
Well, again, what about like deputy chief?
He's not a training officer. He's our IT guy. He's our vehicle maintenance. He does everything else. Like I said, I was the last deputy chief that actually did training. And even that, I did about 10% training, and the rest of it was administrative work.
But even if we had a training officer, that's not going to stop the calls from coming in.
No, it's not going to stop the cost, but you have somebody that's managing a program. If things need to get made up, you set up what the time is, depending on what the instruction is or who the instructor is. At least you have somebody actually managing a program that has time to manage a program. Get objectives, bring up-to-date information, stuff like that. And that's one thing you can't do while you're on shift. It's just impossible to do. And I tried, even when I was on shift, I used to do a lot of training, and it was impossible for me. And I was at Station 2 for 11 years.
Does anybody have anything else?
Not right now.
Okay. And next we have the approval to send 2 firefighters to the Midwest Hazardous Materials Conference on May 3rd and 4th. The cost of the conference prior to March 15th is $360 per person. Prior to March 15th, the hotel is $115 per person. Both are on our hazardous materials response team and need continuing education hours.
I know we just went through this last week at the fire prevention conference. Looking back, this is about a year ago. I did the same thing in 2023 for the same conference that's in May coming up. Just like it did last year, I had one firefighter that was interested. I have 2 this year. It goes up $50 after March 15th. That's why I kind of did it when I did. 2 of the firefighters are both on the hazardous materials teams. They also require continuing education as well. It's a very good conference. I'm lucky enough I'm able to attend it every year. I'm sent there through the University of Illinois as an instructor. It keeps our guys up to date. They bring the information back to the rest of our firefighters as well as the hazmat team. A lot of good quality instructors that instruct that come from across the country. Getting in early, you have to pick what topics that you want. There's only X amount of spots available, so the earlier you get it in, the better chance you have of getting your topic that's in there. It is only one night compared to fire prevention. And look at the shift. Usually the beginning of May is not our busy vacation time, so the chances of us having to cover somebody is probably pretty slim at this point. Since they do get an incentive and they are in a hazmat team, they actually get paid to go to this, but it's out of our specialty training line, which is line number 1066, that is designed for people that when they go to team training and stuff. So that is built into our budget already. I know it's after the new fiscal year, which we haven't talked about yet. But it's also cheaper to pay for one night lodging than for them to drive home. Coming from Northbrook on a Friday is about 2.5 hours to get here. One of them lives in New Lenox, one of them lives in Mokino, so I had another 45 minutes into it. And then drive the next day, it's much cheaper to pay $115 than it is to pay them for 4 hours of travel. So I was just trying to get a consensus because, again, it goes up $50 after March 15th. That's why I did it last year at the same time also.
I got a question as to why we do this and they have these after COVID. Isn't anything like this online anymore?
No, doing online and doing in person is 2 totally different things for learning. We found out with the schools, online learning is not the best way to do things. You lose too much. Like I said, I'm an instructor for University of Illinois, the Fire Service Institute. We have a blended program. Because, again, we do so much hands-on, you cannot learn on a TV screen and put it to hands-on. You just don't grasp the same concepts. It is horrible, and we've seen that with our kids that have gone through online in class during COVID. We lost a lot of education, if you will. We lost about 2 years' worth that you'll never get back. And the online stuff just doesn't cut it. Online stuff is great for some things. When you live in a technological world where we work on a lot of hands-on and a lot of equipment, online is not it. Doesn't work. And that's been proven.
Training travel time is included in the CBA?
Yes. For their specialty, yes. I should say it's always what we've done before if we're sending them to a class like out of our area. If they go from our local area, a lot of the times the classes that are in Lemont and Lockport, they don't get paid for travel because it's local. I believe it's, I forget what the magic number is after so many miles. I don't remember what it was. We did the same thing last year. We paid for one night lodging for them.
Does anybody have any other questions?
Well, you're looking for a consensus,
Yes,
Chief,
please.
for
Just to save the $50 on the early bird, right? That's why I did the same thing last year. I'm sorry.
I would say my only concern is, when we start sending 2 people at a time. I would say the personal preference is, 1 person per session at a time, just in order to minimize potential overtime and any other.
And both of them they're on 2 different shifts, number one. And if you look through the brochure, there's about 5 or 6 topics for each of the different blocks, and they would be taking different topics. So, and the topics don't repeat throughout the 2 days.
Any other questions for the Chief? Madam Clerk, can you poll the board, please, for a consensus to have 2 firefighters attend the HAZMAT conference in Northbrook May 3rd and 4th?
Sure. Roll call number 1 for consensus, Trustee Dalzell.
Yes.
Excuse me. Trustee Juarez Mendoza is absent. Trustee McGlahorn.
Yes.
Trustee Murphy.
Yes.
Trustee Navas-Barza.
Yes.
Trustee Peretta.
Yes.
You have your consensus.
All right, thank you. Appreciate it.
Thank you. I want to go back, though, I wanted to catch this before it got away, too, is I'd like to also ask for a consensus on item number 2 that the Chief had brought up. This was a discussion on amending Chapter 9, Article 3, Section 9-4, Fire Alarm Systems. Discussion on adding back the language to say any subscriber to the Caltron system who fails 2 concurrent billing cycles behind in payment shall be guilty of a Class A municipal violation. Again, this was added in 2017 but removed in 2019 at the board's discretion, and Trustee Elzel, I appreciate the explanation. But certainly I don't want to spend money on the attorney drafting an ordinance if the board didn't wish to make this change. So what I'd like to do is ask Madam Clerk again to poll the board for a consensus, asking if the board wishes to amend this particular ordinance.
Okay, roll call number 2 for consensus, Trustee Dalzell.
No.
Trustee Juarez Mendoza is absent. Trustee McGlahorn.
No.
Trustee Murphy.
No.
Trustee Navas-Barza.
No.
Trustee Peretta.
No.
Consensus fails to carry.
Okay, thank you. Chief, this way we're not spending
Yeah,
money.
no, that's not, like I said, I was asked to bring it up from the hearing judge.
Yeah,
It doesn't really make a difference to me one way or the other, so.
no problem.
I've got great respect for her. I think she's a great
Yeah.
hearing. Just don't.
Yep. All right, thank you, appreciate it.
Thanks, Chief. Next, we have the Police and Traffic Safety Report. Trustee Dalzell.
Chief has got a request for approval to, is it to pick up these cars that were ordered already?
Correct, they have been ordered, yes.
Okay. There's 4 2024 Durango Pursuits. Total cost for the 4 is $161,092, and it's in the budget.
Correct. It's
Go ahead,
through
Chief.
Thomas Dodge, the South Suburban Co-op state bid, the same place we've been buying them from for the last 4 or 5 years.
And you were telling me today, Chief, those cars will probably be ready late this week or next week?
They're expecting them by the end of the month, so.
Okay. Okay. Did you,
And it was ordered in November, so.
yeah. Did you, you okay with approving it next week, or do you want a consensus on that now?
I'm confident in my consensus, but sure.
Yeah, I'm just, in other words, I didn't know if you had to give something to them, that's all. Okay, the way we were talking this morning.
We should have done that already.
Yeah, when we
placed the order.
placed the order, we should have approved it.
Yeah, it's not a big deal if, like, we don't take them, they got tons of people that didn't order them.
That's fine. I thought there was more of an urgency thing here, so we'll put it on next week just for approval. But yeah, as Chief said, Finance did confirm it's been budgeted for, and she said we're good to go.
What happens to the old ones? Which ones are getting retired?
Chief, which ones you were telling me today?
There was 116, 118, and 2 19s that are going to be retired. I'm not sure if they're Tauruses or Explorers, probably a mixture. They usually get put on govdeals.com, and we auction them.
Okay, thank you. Do we repurpose the innards of those? Is there anything to be salvaged?
What it is, maybe like the side channel radio. Outside of that, maybe some of the non-overhead lights, the grill lights and stuff like that, but most of the stuff is going to be replaced, especially since we're going to a new in-car camera system that matches our body cams.
Okay. Great, thank you.
All right, thank you. Trustee Elzal, anything else?
No, sir, thank you.
Okay, thanks. Again, Chief, I said to the board last week, I'll put something together. I want to recognize you. I told the board last week, you weren't available, but great annual report. I really thought the world of how hard the men worked, men and women worked, I should say, last year. Great effort. And again, Chief, if you want to, we can give an overview at the next meeting as well, too, but Chief Miller and his command staff put together a real nice recognition dinner last week, and all the officers were here in their dress blues with their families and whatnot, and I just really thought the world of recognizing all the officers for all their efforts over the last 4 or 5 years, more or less, and stuff yet, too, of life-saving efforts. They had another award that was the MVP, Most Valuable Partner, and then Officer of the Year. But you had a great turnout, and everybody just thought the world of it. It was really well done, Chief. Nice job.
Thank you, I appreciate it. I'll share the pictures with you, too.
Okay. Next, Public Work and Boat Launch Committee.
First, we have the presentation of the Public Works February 2024 monthly activity report. And next, we have the request to purchase a new replacement dump body for a 2024 Sterling dump truck from Buffalo Trailer Manufacturing, 3120 Lewis Street, Stager, Illinois, in the amount of $19,700. Mike?
Yeah, so we're looking to, it's a 20-year-old truck. We did an evaluation of the truck and an inspection, and the cab chassis overall is in great condition. It only has about 46,000 miles on it. Unfortunately, the dump body the framing underneath is completely rotted out. So we'd like to replace the dump body on it. We think we can extend the life of the vehicle by 5 to 7 years by doing that at a fairly decent price. Ordering a new truck is going to be anywhere between 3 to 4 years out, and of course, upwards of about $300,000 now for one of those larger dump trucks. So.
Yeah, this is this one is 5-ton dump truck. And it's a 2004 truck, so I appreciate we're trying to salvage this. It runs great. There's nothing wrong with that truck.
Yeah, it doesn't have any of the newer emission restrictions on it and things like that, so it still runs great.
This particular company, after I saw the address too, good friend of mine owns a business right across the street from these guys, and is this going to include removal and installation too?
Yes,
Yeah, because I've seen them do that before over there, yeah, too, out in Stager, so,
yes.
okay.
And that's all I have, sir.
Okay, Mike, what's the turnaround time for that too? How long does it take to do that? Just
I
like
think
a
they told us it'd
couple
only
days?
be a couple of weeks.
Okay. Couple days maybe just to do the work too, or is it pretty extensive?
I don't know, I mean, because they're going to take off the old dump body, then the new one will have to be painted, and they'll install that and everything. So they say a couple of weeks.
Okay, okay. Thank you. Next was the sewer and water report, trustee Nava Esparza.
Thank you. No report this evening.
Trustee, right at the end of the day today, our water commissioner was on vacation last week. He came back today, and I had talked with Dan right at the end of the day just to check on progress with the water supply that we have going to Robbins. And it is taking place right now. I mean, in other words, we are supplying water to the village of Robbins, and Dan told me that we are going to be getting a formal how should I say it, agreement with Cook County, who also is securing our water supply. Cook County is taking responsibility for that as well too. So I'm going to meet with Joe Kankar tomorrow, our attorney, and we're going to draft an intergovernmental agreement, and Dan's going to help with the language that needs to go into that yet too.
Okay.
Next, we had the building and health report. Trustee Prada.
Thank you, Mayor. First, I have a presentation of the Health Department February 2024 monthly activity report. And in that report, there were 12 complaints, 2 inspections, 4 citations, and 0 callouts. Next, I have a presentation of the Building Department February 2024 monthly activity report. And in that report, there were 58 permits issued, and compared to the same period previously, that is 8 more. The amount collected included inspector fees was $38,240. The estimated cost of construction is valued at $2,852,942. Couple things I'd like to add. Year to date, from May 1st of last year to February 29th of this year, there are a total of 947 permits issued. That is 69 more from compared to the previous year to date. For the month of February, the 2 highest permits pulled were electrical permits and residential siding and windows. And as always, there's always a couple categories that I like to keep my eyes on, and one of them is dumpster enclosures. And the other that caught my eye is there were 2 permits pulled for new commercial, and that's always good to see. And Roger, would you happen to know what those 2 permits were?
I know Charlie's would be one of them, and the other one, off the top of my head, I don't remember at this point.
All right. Very good. Well, thank you, Roger. And Mayor, that concludes my report.
Okay, thank you. Next, we had Human Resource and Insurance, Trustee Murphy.
I don't have anything on the agenda, Mayor, but I did receive a letter from the Human Resources Manager Anthony Fasano regarding Tom Wheelman from Alliant Insurance said that he wanted to give us a quick update on the workman's compensation renewal. We received quotes from both IPRF and ICRMT and are in the process of reviewing them now, and we'll work with Manager Fasano to schedule a meeting to present the results. At this time, it appears like IPRF has provided the most competitive quotes. And then just to share with the board and the committee, the insurance committee, the claims were very high last month, as typically we are charged anywhere between $225,000 to $325,000, and February had a total charge of $473,000 plus. So there's a lot of spikes there, hence we are looking for other options. So just to make the board aware.
And just to clarify too, that, and I wanted to share with the committee that particular info. So that number, Trustee Murphy, that you were just reading with the higher claim, that's actually just on the health care, and Tom Wiedemann is helping us shop on workman comp insurance. So it's
That's
two
correct.
different insurance. But I just, HR brought that to my attention that typically we see between maybe $225,000 to $325,000 a month, and that was almost $500,000 for 1 month. But there's nothing we can do about it. Those are the claims. I just wanted to share it with the board what was going on. That's all. So.
Yeah, there were considerable claims, and I don't think I could read those on camera. So,
Right.
but yeah, there were quite a bit of spikes. So, more to come.
Okay. Thank you. Special committee reports. We'll start with economic development. Trustee Nava Esparza.
Thank you. I attended the Alsip Bicycle and Pedestrian Plan Committee meeting on Thursday, and it was great to connect with others on the committee, and they're just ironing out details, or the consultant is, in regards to the steering committee members, and also just assisting us with creating timelines as well in regards to engagement activities. And on my way here, driving on her 19th in the dark, seeing two young people on their bikes and just barely seeing lights on their bikes, I think it's a much-needed plan to address, I think just people's mindset and shift to more active lifestyles and alternatives to getting around in their communities. So it's exciting to see what's going to come about with this plan and the planning process. And hopefully as more information is shared, that residents can also have a voice and contribute and give ideas and suggestions as well. Again, all of us have different paths and the ways that we travel within our community, and resident feedback is vital. So more to come. And also I plan to reach out to Nextsite just to touch base with their engagement activities in regards to outreach and economic development. The last time I did speak with a representative from Nextsite, it was just, again, two parties not being able to come to an agreement in regards to terms for transactions in regards to economic development within the village. And that's all I have.
Okay, thank you. Okay, thank you. Next, village properties, Trustee McGlohorn.
Thank you, Mayor. As at the last meeting, we had the bid opening for the new roof at the Public Works Garage, and Commissioner Early at this time is recommending that we award the bid to Olson Roofing, and at this time I'll turn it over to him for further
I
comment.
did some research on the contractors. I did send an Excel spreadsheet along with an AIA document 305, which is contractors' qualification statements, to the two low bidders. I did receive one response from Olson. In the response time, I did ask that I would have it back by noon on Friday. I did receive one from Olson, which is why I'm asking for the bid to be awarded to them. I did a little bit of research on the Illinois.gov website for the business entity for Tops Roofing, which comes back as Premier Roofing, doing business as Tops Roofing. There was some discrepancies that I found, some dates that were not filed properly from 2012 to 2024. They were not accredited with the Better Business Bureau. Olson Roofing did have an A+ rating with Better Business Bureau, and they did follow through with the Excel spreadsheet, which I requested, and also the A305 document. I have worked with them previously. They are a reputable company that has been in business for over 50 years. I feel comfortable moving forward with them, and I would ask that you guys, as a board, would feel comfortable with them also.
Roger, and they were the second of the low bidders?
Correct. They, Tops was at 352, and then Olson is at $410,700. They are currently licensed and bonded within the village of Alsip, and they currently have an unlimited license on file with the village. Premier does not, Premier or Tops does not at this time.
And you requested information from them, and they didn't get back to you?
Not in the required time.
Okay.
Is that something we should seek the attorney recommendation? I mean, if they were awarded, if they were responsive to the bid, can we disqualify somebody for the latter?
That's a great question. I know we qualify them. I'm actually meeting with Joe Cankar tomorrow, so I'm going to make a note of it.
I'll
talk
forward
to him
you all
about
the
that as well,
information
too.
that I have and
Thank you.
that I sent to both of them.
Okay.
Thank you.
Anything
That's
else,
all.
Roger?
Nope.
Okay. That's all I have this evening, Mayor.
Okay, thanks. Ordinance legislation, Trustee Preda.
No report this evening, Mayor.
Okay. And then Planning and Zoning and Licenses Committee.
Thank you, Mayor. I have a presentation of the list of licenses dated February 26th, 2024 through March 8th of 2024. And that's all I have this evening.
Okay, thank you. Did anybody have any presentations, petitions, or communications they wanted to share? Much like as Trustee Navis-Barza just said, I had this on the agenda. Just to reiterate, similar was just at the Village of Alsip Bicycle and Pedestrian Plan Committee met on last Thursday with Ryan Peterson from Epstein Global. He's our consulting person, our point person, to discuss preparing public engagement. Right now, they're scheduled to participate in the June Fun Fest with the Park District, have a booth out there. They're going to assemble a steering committee, as the trustee said, comprised of all the stakeholders from the village, police, fire, public works, schools, parks, library, and industrial association, and some bike clubs, as well as the chamber. And then they're going to communicate an outreach strategy. And they've got a real nice fillable form. They sent an example out today that's going to this is going to look real nice. They're doing a great job with this here too. The Village of Alsip is kicking off an exciting planning process aimed at reimagining how we walk and bike around the community. This plan is all about figuring out best ways to make sure that everyone can get around safely and enjoyably without relying on so many cars. Again, I like how they word this. Our focus during this planning stage is to listen to what you need and want, ensuring these changes make our village a closer-knit, more accessible place for folks of all ages and abilities. I told them I'm going to send them a list of, they want to put up some yard signs near trail paths, trailheads, and stuff like that to promote this idea, and I told them I'll identify those and send them a list of those yet, too. The other two, please keep in mind the following dates. Again, the Village of Alsip Cleanup Day. Please come out and help us if you're available. This will be Saturday, May 11th, from 9 in the morning until noon. Just a reminder, Becky gave me all this today, was that the annual village-wide community garage sale will be September 13, 14, and 15, from 8 in the morning until 5 at night. And she's promoting the annual spring flower sale here at the Village Hall. That'll take place May 10th and 11th. May 10th is from 9 till 4 on a Friday. On Saturday from 9 till noon. This will be cash or check only. And I'm not going to go into how much geraniums are and stuff, but we'll put these on our social media and website. And then we're going to promote, I enjoy doing this every year with the board, we're going to have our Village of Alsip board meeting April 15th at 7:30 p.m. We're going to promote our student government night, as we do with the high school students. The students will arrive at 6:30 p.m. and we'll give them an overview of what's going to take place that night, and we'll let them pick for titles for that night too, who's going to be trustees, clerk, and mayor, so forth. So I always appreciate working with the students, and that'll be April 15th at our board meeting. Anybody have any unfinished business they wanted to talk about?
Yes, Mayor, the never-ending topic of gov temps.
Okay. Yeah, I asked her to reach out to you, trustee, on that.
The current extension that the board allowed, I believe, only went through March 31st. And with the recent unfortunate ability to get staff, I will put it on the agenda for next week to extend that at this time through April 30th, since there are some interviews and hopefully things in the works. I don't want to go too far out at this point in time, but if current searches fail, then we may have to go into May then as well. But at this point in time, I'm holding out hope for the end of April.
Thank you. HR told me, and I met with Maria on this Friday as well, too, and they've had over 130 applications, and Tony, our HR...
Maria mentioned that she's getting people from out of the country.
Yeah,
who
getting
want
people
us
from
to
out of the
sponsor
country
their
that want
relocation
sponsors and stuff now then, too, so...
Just one question that I have or comes to mind is there a way to ask SSMMA, I know they do surveys, or they can maybe do a survey on our behalf to see how many finance positions at the municipal level are shifting to a hybrid model, just due to maybe, the demand of labor and not being able to fill positions, or is it just us that it's unique that we're having this issue with that department?
Well, for one, and the board just approved it just last week, actually, too, but that's always the challenging element of the residency role yet, too. We're telling our department heads and all of our employees we have an ordinance that says you have to live within 25 miles of the village within 6 months of accepting an appointment, or a job, let's put it that way, not just an appointment, but a job. And we're very clear on that on all the applications and so forth, but to basically exempt that could be a problem.
Well, it would be hybrid. They would still have to have that. They'd have to live somewhere. They just have to show up to the office, but not maybe, I don't know, just throwing hypothetical, 3 days a week, and then 2 days are remote if they choose to. So, I'm just curious to see what other municipalities how are they handling it, or is it just unique to us? That was my question.
I felt, because I'd tell you, when COVID first hit, our previous finance director, 2 finance directors ago, Kent, had done that on kind of an emergency basis when the government was almost insisting that we do that. And I found anyway, I thought it was kind of difficult to operate with the office because I think, and he even kind of admitted to at the time, it's like he spent more time trying to resolve his staff issues as opposed to just walking into the next room to do so and stuff then too, where he had to call him or do this and that. And I would joke with him, I was like, you would send somebody a note, like my wife works, I'm not like against it. I'm like my wife, for example, she works for a major company and she works hybrid quite a bit, but they got offices all across the country and that's what they do. In a case like this, when you're working with so many different elements, where you've got like a staff accountant, possibly a finance associate, and then you've got a accounts payable person and whatnot, it's just a lot of different elements who are here. And when you're not, I just think in other words, I think it just kind of complicates. I'm not opposed to it, but I think it complicates it quite a bit. But then it's the residency thing at the end of the day. If you can live within 25 miles of her, you can probably come in every day then, too.
Well, I'm just curious to see what other municipalities, that's why I think someone had mentioned that SSMA is a resource if we wanted to find out information. That way we can see what the trend is. Or else we're going to continue to be confronted with temps and not finding the right candidate. So kind of just trying to come up with a solution. But if it is like, if it's just a unique problem to us, but other municipal governments are able to fill those positions, then we would just stay the course. But I'm just curious to see what's happening.
Yeah.
It just seems to me that if we continue to pay these rates, we won't need finance because we won't have any money to pay anybody.
Agreed.
I agree, and this kills me doing this, but at least we have this one person who is already familiar. She's been around for quite a while now, and don't want to necessarily cut her off and just leave Maria with nobody.
I don't know if I asked this question before, but in my world, we use temps quite a bit. We have contracts with them. After they've worked a set amount of hours, you can make them an offer to recruit them. Is this something that is in the contract? Is this something we can entertain?
Well, yeah,
Well-
as you say,
well,
I think it's been already, I believe
the
it has been
proposal-
discussed with this person already.
The part of that is there's two parts. You can buy them out of their contract, but let's say the magic number is 500 hours. If after they work 500 hours, you can then make them an offer at no cost to you. And if they choose to come on board, then no harm, no foul. Is there some type of, I know temp agencies do that.
Yes. So right now, our temp is respectfully declined because she's already entered into the IMRF pension system, so she can't work more hours than she does now because she's already drawing a pension from. She was a finance director for over 39 years at another municipality.
Okay.
So, and then I've had like the Robert Half company approach me and say that they can help us recruit. And I don't want to say a number out loud, but it's a considerable stipend for their service as well too. I mean, but we do have 2 interviews set up for this week, so hopefully these things might pan out. And we did make a job offer recently that had to be rescinded at the last second for something that the finance director saw that she didn't approve of. So, I mean, we're that close. We just haven't closed the deal just yet, that's all. So I'm hoping, let's put it that way. And again, trustees, to exempt this position for any reason, even though we're struggling to hire for this particular position, I think would be unfair to the rest of the employees. That's all, because everybody else is living or working for the village, employed by the village within that 25-mile circle. So that's all I had. So if there's nothing else, anyone have any old business? And can I get a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. We'll adjourn this meeting at 8:39 p.m. Please enjoy the rest of your night. Thank you.